Hello to you, my entrepreneurial friend. This is Brian K McNeill, the sales confidence coach. And we're going to talk about a really cool thing today. We're going to talk about the fundamentals of selling your services. You are an entrepreneur, and there are a lot of different skills, and there's a lot of different things that you have to do in order to have a successful business. And how you sell them is a part of the skills that you need to have. So we're going to have a discussion today about the fundamentals of selling yourself and your services, and I think it'll be fun for you. But first,
this is the Sales Confidence Podcast, helping you sell your services to more potential clients. We'll go over the basics of selling you and your services better than you ever have before, so that you can earn more money than ever before. Learn a sales system to ensure you own the skills and techniques to stay profitable. It's time. You're in demand. Now get the mindset and systems to handle that demand. Here's your host, the world's #1 authority on how to sell services. It's the sales confidence coach himself, Brian K McNeill.
I very much like on my intro. All right. Now, here's some cool things. Now, I have been in and around the profession of selling for 31 years, but for 30 of those years, in one way or another, I've actually been engaged in helping someone else to sell themselves and their services, teaching it, studying it, and teaching it. And I studied it a lot because since the age of 24, when I knew I didn't know anything, I just been a mad, crazy, enthusiastic studier of the craft of selling. And by my own count, I've read more than 700 books on selling, sales management, and self-development. That's what I've read. But over the time, I've helped thousands of people to sell better. And one of the things that one of my coaches and mentors taught me was, because I was teaching he has watched me do a workshop, and I was telling them that, look, if you guys have these principles, you can do a better introduction of your services than I could because you know your game. And I thought I was right. And he goes, Brian, they can't, because what they don't have is the depth. They don't have the time and industry that you have. So and he's right. The more I think about it, having depth, having been around your game for long enough, you get some depth that you can use. Now, in my depth and what I've learned over this past 30 years, there are a lot of activities that entrepreneurs can do during the course of a day that do not contribute to them earning money, that don't. I defined as work, when you're engaged in selling your services, work as to 6 different activities: prospecting, presenting, closing, following up, delivering, and studying. That's it. And if it's not one of those 6 things, it's a preparation activity, not an actual work activity. Like entering people into your CRM is not actually work yet. It's getting you ready to do some work. Now, I like this talk because the fundamentals. Now, I'm of the opinion that as an entrepreneur, you should go over your basic fundamentals twice a year. Twice a year, every 6 months, you go over your basic fundamentals. Have you ever heard of Vince Lombardi? Vince Lombardi, he was an amazing football coach. He was a motivator, and he had a wonderfully successful team, the Green Bay Packers. They actually won the first 2 Super Bowls. Super Bowl 1 and 2, the Packers won it. And it was legendary that Vince Lombardi could give you his playbook and you still couldn't stop him because he had basics. He believed that football boiled down into a game of blocking and tackling, the basic functions. He believed the team that blocked the best and the team that tackled the best wins the most games. Matter of fact, he was famous for every year when his players came back from off season into training camp, he could have all his players out there on the field, and he'd start off his welcome back to football speech. And his speech was like this. He'd hold up a football and he says, "Gentlemen, this is a football. this oblong shape that's covered in leather, and this has laces on it like this. And invariably, some of the veterans who had heard that speech many times, they would make a fun out of it. They would say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, coach, you're going too fast. Can you slow down?" Now, ha, 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 that's the joke, right? These are all professional football players. They're all world-class football players. They know how to play football, right? They wouldn't be pros if they didn't. Lombardi knew better. The basics. If they mastered the basics, they would master their game. Let's talk about some of the basics today. First basic, prospecting. Now, today they call that lead generation. Can you find the right person to offer your services to? Can you attract or generate a lead or generate a prospect? Even now, prospecting seems like such an old school phrase, but it's a phrase that I grew up in. But now they call it lead generation. Can you create leads? If you're an entrepreneur today, you get bombarded by opportunities and other companies wanting to help you to get more leads in exchange for money. I have a funny relationship with the whole concept of more leads, more leads, more leads. I'm of the opinion, and I preach loud and proud, that most of the time we don't need more leads. Most of the time we just need to do more with the leads that we actually already have. This whole concept of swipe right, swipe left makes the typical entrepreneur treat each prospect the same way. If the prospect doesn't move the way they want to move right away, they just move on to the next, move on to the next, move on to the next. And what happens is they don't ever really get a chance to nurture business, and they find themselves constantly needing new business because they need to look for laydowns, looking for easy. And if you knew how to nurture them, if you knew how to follow up the right way, then you won't have to have such a big and hungry need for new leads. Lead generation. Today, in order to generate leads, these are basics. You have to figure out a way to lower your client's risk. Something that they can want to come to you without risking a lot. Like, do you have anything that you offer for free or for low cost? Something free or low cost that lowers their risk, and that gives you a chance to distinguish yourself as a subject matter expert and earning the right to move on to the next thing. Give them something for free, give them something for low cost, something that you're willing to offer for free, something that you're willing to offer for low cost. That's the first thing. So the prospecting, lead generation is first. Presenting. This is another old school concept. Actually, the art of how to present your services. Now, if you offer a tangible service, you can actually demonstrate how it works. If you offer an intangible service, you're going to have to sell it with the story. Present. Actually do a presentation. Lights, camera, action. I'm of the opinion if you sell an intangible service, like coaching or consulting or any intangible service, massage therapy, that service can be sold completely within about 4 minutes. Within about 4 minutes, you can sell your services. That's right. And if you don't know how, I can show you how. That's all it takes. Prospecting, presenting, closing. This is another challenge with the entrepreneurs today. They're not willing to go through closing efforts. Closing efforts is when your client understands how much your services cost, and you're going through the efforts of asking for the business and overcoming objections on the way to getting the business. Prospecting, presenting, closing, asking for the business formally, and being willing to help the client to overcome objections in order to earn their business. That's 3. Prospecting, presenting, closing, following up. A lot of people know the concept. The fortune is in the follow-up, and rare is the entrepreneur that actually does. Following up. Again, I learned this number many, many years ago, but the average sale happened after the 5th attempt. But most entrepreneurs make either 0 attempts, where they formally ask for the business, or 1 or 2. But only the champions would watch a podcast like this, and only the champions will ask for the business the requisite number of times. That 4th time, that 5th time, that 6th time, whatever it takes in an effort to earn their business over time. Prospecting, presenting, closing, following up, delivering. Once a sale is made, you have to deliver what you sold. You have to actually do the coaching. You actually have to cut the grass. You actually have to do the massage. You have to deliver it in such a way that confirms the client's good decision in working with you. You have to deliver more value than they see as their money. It's always going to be an unfair exchange. They're getting a whole lot more value. They're getting a big old pile of value in exchange for their little pile of money. And that's how it has to come across. And that's fair. They're getting more, or at least they perceive that they're getting more than they're actually paying for. Excuse me. Prospecting, presenting, closing, following up, delivering, and studying. You have to keep studying. You got to keep yourself green and growing instead of ripe and rotting. Keep yourself in a constant study mode, green and growing instead of ripe and rotting. I'm of the opinion that you should be studying your craft for 30 minutes to an hour on each day that you actually work. So if you work Monday through Friday and don't work on the weekends, you only have to study on Monday through Friday. 30 minutes to an hour. You can study by a book. You can study by a program. You can study by YouTube. You can study by a podcast like this one. You can study with time with your coach, but actually spending some time in an effort to learn something that's going to help you and your game. These are the basic fundamentals: prospecting, presenting, closing, following up, and delivering and studying. Understanding the basics of your business. What does it take for you to have a successful day in your business? Do you have any monetary goals? Those things, I believe, should be reviewed twice a year minimally as your fundamental training, as your basic training. To that end, I've offered an amazing program called the BEST program, the BEST. That stands for the Basic Essential Sales Training. And for anyone who wants that kind of information, I will let you know. It's a 7-part, self-paced, on-demand, basic essential sales training available to you. Thank you for joining me again here on thank you for joining me again on the Sales Confidence Podcast. And before you get out of here, I gotta give you something here. Let me find it if I can. I don't know if I can find it. Or maybe it's right. I don't know if I can find it anywhere. Okay. But anyway, thank you for joining me. I'm going to count that as our session today. I'll see you next Tuesday. Each Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I come and give what I believe is going to be something that's immediately actionable, something that you can use right away to help you to sell yourself and your services.